Now, from this event, I have only seen and heard of positive things. I didn't hear one thing about how her fans are toxic. I didn't hear one thing about there being too much spotlight on Caitlin Clark, and it should have maybe been on the professional golfers that are there. We didn't hear any of that. And those are the types of things that we have been hearing for the entirety of the WNBA season last season.
Let that sink in for a moment. No toxic fan accusations, no complaints about spotlight distribution, no drama, just pure, genuine appreciation for an athlete doing what athletes do, showing up and bringing energy to a sport. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today, because what happened at that LPGA tournament wasn't just a feel-good story. It was a masterclass in how to treat generational talent, and it exposed something the WNBA has been desperately trying to hide. The golf world just showed us what happens when a league actually celebrates its stars instead of managing egos and appeasing jealousy. You're about to see how professional golfers, analysts, and an entire sport welcomed Caitlin Clark with open arms, while her own league spent an entire season making excuses for why she shouldn't get too much attention. We're connecting dots that some people don't want connected. And if you believe the story behind the story matters, smash that like button right now. It tells us we're on the right track. Here's what really went down. Caitlin Clark stepped onto a golf course for an LPGA Pro-Am event, and within hours, the entire sports world was talking about it, not because of controversy, not because of drama, but because of something the WNBA seems to have forgotten exists: genuine enthusiasm for watching a great athlete compete. The Golf Channel moved their broadcast up 90 minutes just to capture her appearance. Social media exploded with clips and commentary. And most importantly, the players themselves, the actual professional golfers whose tournament this was, welcomed her like she belonged there. Let's filter out the noise and look at what actually happened. Nelly Korda, one of the top golfers on the planet, didn't just tolerate Caitlin's presence. She didn't issue some corporate statement about growing the game. She invested real time and energy into making Caitlin feel valued. Read between the lines on that statement. Korda talks about the influence Caitlin has on people, about bringing crowds out, about being an amazing influence for sports in general. This is a top-tier professional athlete in her own sport, acknowledging another athlete's impact without a trace of insecurity or resentment. And you know what's missing from that statement? Any suggestion that Caitlin's fans are toxic? Any complaint about media attention being unfairly distributed? Any hint that Caitlin's presence somehow diminishes the accomplishments of the golfers who've dedicated their lives to the sport? Many of you have been saying this for weeks, and you were onto something. The problem was never Caitlin Clark. The problem was never her fans. The problem was a league that couldn't figure out how to handle success when it arrived in a package they weren't expecting. But it wasn't just Nelly Korda. Maria Fassi, a talented golfer from Mexico, went out of her way to introduce herself to Caitlin on camera. She thanked her for what she's doing for sports. She told her she was kicking ass. This is the kind of athlete-to-athlete respect that should be automatic, but somehow became rare in Caitlin's own league. The Golf Channel didn't just cover the event, they analyzed it. They discussed the potential for a long-term partnership between Caitlin and the LPGA. They talked openly about how both sides could benefit, how Caitlin's love of golf could create opportunities that extend beyond this single appearance. Think about that framework for a second. A league looking at a star from another sport and immediately thinking about mutual benefit, about building something together, about creating value for everyone involved. Now compare that to the WNBA's approach, which seemed to be about managing optics and making sure nobody felt too overshadowed. The contrast gets even sharper when you look at how the event came together. Damita, who's been one of the few voices willing to call out the WNBA's dysfunction this year, pointed out something crucial.
How this Pro-Am event originally wasn't even going to be televised, but there were so many fans who were emailing the organization saying, how can we watch Caitlin? Can we come to the event? Can you live stream it? All of these things. And it ended up being put on television.
The LPGA wasn't even planning to televise this pro-am, but fans demanded it. They wanted to watch Caitlin play golf, and instead of dismissing those fans as toxic or delusional, instead of worrying about whether televising a pro-am might upset the regular tour players, the LPGA listened. They adjusted. They gave people what they wanted. That's called understanding your audience. That's called recognizing an opportunity. That's called not letting internal politics override basic business sense. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. Caitlin's connection to golf isn't some manufactured PR angle. She grew up playing. She genuinely loves the sport. When asked about her golf origin story, she lit up talking about her dad playing, about asking for golf clubs for her birthday, about that cute pink set she got from a store up the street. That authenticity matters. The golf community picked up on it immediately. They recognized someone who respects their sport, who understands what it takes to compete at a high level, who wasn't just showing up for attention, but genuinely wanted to be there. The LPGA had every reason to be protective of their event, every reason to worry about an outside athlete coming in and stealing focus, every reason to treat this appearance as a potential distraction from their core product. And yet, they did the opposite. They leaned into it. They promoted it. They celebrated it. You were onto something when you noticed the WNBA couldn't seem to do the same thing. All season long, we heard about how Caitlin's popularity was somehow unfair to other players, about how her fans were too aggressive, too demanding, too unwilling to appreciate the whole league, about how the media coverage was disproportionate and needed to be managed. But watch what happened in golf. The media coverage was massive. Caitlin's fans showed up in force. The spotlight was absolutely on her. And somehow, miraculously, the sky didn't fall. The professional golfers didn't revolt. The sport didn't collapse under the weight of all that attention. Instead, everyone won. The LPGA got publicity they couldn't have bought. The tournament got attention that extended far beyond the usual golf audience. Caitlin got to enjoy a sport she loves, and fans got to watch an athlete they admire doing something different. That's what happens when you stop managing scarcity and start leveraging abundance. When you recognize that attention isn't a finite resource that needs to be carefully rationed, but a renewable energy source that grows when you give people what they want to see. The golf world understood something fundamental that the WNBA spent all season struggling with. A rising tide lifts all boats. Caitlin Clark's star power doesn't diminish anyone else. It elevates the entire space she occupies. Drop a comment right now and tell us what you think the WNBA's biggest mistake was this season. Was it the way they handled Caitlin's popularity, or was it something deeper? Because we need to hear from you on this, and the league needs to hear it too. Let's go deeper into what the golf community got right. When Caitlin took the course, analysts weren't just polite. They were genuinely impressed by what they saw. One golf expert broke down her mechanics, her confidence, her shot quality, and came away stunned. Notice the language there. Confidence, performer, total package. This is a golf professional analyzing Caitlin's game and finding legitimate skill, not just celebrity novelty. They treated her like an athlete who deserved technical analysis, not like a sideshow who should be grateful for the invitation, and that respect flowed in every direction. Golf Channel reporters on site talked about the excitement building around Caitlin's panel appearance and her round the next day.
I think there's a lot of excitement about what's to come. Caitlin Clark is actually speaking as a part of a panelist this afternoon. So for those who are lucky enough to be in the room, that's exciting. Of course, people can watch it and stream online as well. But I know players are getting excited about seeing some of Caitlin's action tomorrow.
Players getting excited to see Caitlin's action, not worried about whether she'll take too much attention, not concerned about toxic fan behavior, just excited. That's the default setting when you're secure in your own excellence and understand that someone else's success doesn't threaten yours. The partnership conversation that emerged was equally telling. Golf Channel analysts immediately started thinking long-term. We're getting into speculation territory here, but the breadcrumbs lead somewhere fascinating. The LPGA saw Caitlin's genuine love of golf, heard her joke about becoming a professional golfer, and thought, what if we actually build something here? What if this isn't just a one-time publicity stunt, but the beginning of a relationship that benefits both sides? That's strategic thinking. That's understanding how to build a brand and grow a sport. Compare that to the WNBA's approach, which seemed to be hoping Caitlin's impact would somehow distribute itself evenly across all players without anyone having to make uncomfortable decisions about who to promote. But here's where Rachel Damita's analysis cuts deepest, and many of you have been connecting these dots for months. The reception Caitlin received at the golf tournament was the polar opposite of what she experienced during WNBA season. No accusations of toxic fandom, no complaints about spotlight distribution, no carefully worded statements about needing to celebrate all players equally. Just pure, unfiltered appreciation for an athlete bringing energy to their event. The WNBA community is buzzing about why this contrast exists, and the answer isn't complicated. The golf world approached Caitlin from a position of confidence. They knew their sport's value. They knew their players' worth. They didn't need to protect anyone's ego because they weren't operating from a place of insecurity. The WNBA, on the other hand, spent the season acting like Caitlin's success was somehow happening at the expense of everyone else, as if every new fan she brought to the league was a fan stolen from another player. As if every headline with her name was a headline another player deserved more. That's scarcity mindset. That's zero-sum thinking. And it's exactly what holds leagues back from capitalizing on the moments that could transform them. Think about the practical implications. When the Golf Channel moved their broadcast time and devoted resources to covering Caitlin's appearance, they weren't worried about backlash from purist golf fans who might feel disrespected. They calculated correctly that the attention would benefit everyone involved. When fans flooded the organization with requests to watch Caitlin play, the LPGA didn't issue statements about respecting the game's traditions or protecting the integrity of the Pro-Am format. They put it on television. Sources suggest the LPGA is now exploring ways to bring Caitlin back for future events. Multiple people close to the situation are whispering about the possibility of a more formal role, perhaps as an ambassador or participant in select tournaments. If these reports are accurate, the LPGA will have accomplished something the WNBA couldn't, turning a moment into a movement. And here's what should terrify the WNBA. Caitlin looked happy out there, genuinely, visibly happy. She was relaxed, she was smiling, she was surrounded by people who wanted her there and weren't afraid to show it.
I loved it. My dad played a little bit growing up, and then I remember one of my birthdays I asked for golf clubs, and I got this cute little pink set. It was probably from, who knows, the store up the street, and a cheap not plastic, but pretty cheap pair. I had them for a while. They were cute. And then eventually got some nice clubs, and I really love it.
That story about the pink club set, about asking for golf clubs for her birthday, about eventually getting nice clubs. That's someone talking about a passion that predates fame and pressure. That's authentic connection to a sport. Now contrast that with the stress we saw on Caitlin's face during parts of the WNBA season. The physical play that went uncalled, the commentary about whether her fans were good for the league, the constant narrative that her success needed to be managed rather than celebrated. Athletes notice these things. They remember how they're treated. They make decisions based on where they feel valued versus where they feel tolerated. The golf world showed Caitlin what it looks like when a sport actually wants you there, not just tolerates your presence, not just accepts the ratings boost you bring, but genuinely celebrates what you add to their community. Annika Sorenstam, one of the greatest golfers in history, spoke about Caitlin with respect and admiration. She acknowledged the discipline required to excel in multiple sports. She recognized the work ethic, the talent, the ability to inspire others. This is how legends should treat rising stars, by lifting them up and acknowledging their unique gifts. Reading between the lines reveals something crucial. The golf community saw Caitlin Clark as an asset to be celebrated, not a problem to be managed. They understood instinctively what the WNBA spent a full season struggling to accept. That when you have someone special, you don't dim their light to make others feel better. You let them shine and watch how that light attracts more people to everyone in the space. This isn't just about one tournament or one appearance. This is about what happens when an athlete gets treated the way they deserve to be treated. The energy changes. The possibilities expand. The future gets brighter for everyone involved. The LPGA demonstrated in a single day what the WNBA couldn't accomplish in an entire season: how to welcome a star, leverage their popularity, and make everyone feel like they won. It's a masterclass the league should study closely, because the cost of not learning this lesson is massive. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because we're not done exposing what's really happening behind the scenes in women's basketball, next video, we're breaking down exactly what the WNBA needs to change before they lose their biggest star permanently. You won't want to miss it. The LPGA showed us the blueprint. Now we'll see if the WNBA has the courage to follow it. Thanks for being here. Stay curious.